We're up.
Okay. We are back in open session, and note that no decision was made in closed session. And so we'll continue our budget discussions here.
Excellent. One of the things that I look at to decide on what my requests for wages are is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They obtain payroll data across Iowa. They have two different sections. One is non-metropolitan, one is metropolitan areas. I've pulled the job code for IT management positions in our area. I also have details on the metropolitan areas. The three numbers are gonna be the 90th percentile wage, the 75th percentile wage, and then the mean or the average wage in that region. Those numbers are 2 years old. The IT director salary is falling a little bit behind. The health insurance changes last year didn't help, certainly. I don't think we're that far out of whack, but we definitely need to take a look at that. I do have an opportunity in Martin County, which is Fairmont, Minnesota. Their higher end of their range is 130,000, and that's their budget estimate. I'm not 100% sure they would go higher or lower than that, but we're about 10,000 behind that at this point in time. So when we look at Bureau of Labor Statistics, so we've got by area, the 90th percentile range is the first column, 75th percentile, and then the average. This Northwest Iowa non-metropolitan area is what we would fall into. I've highlighted that section. We're not too far off, but these numbers are 2 years old, so that average is definitely gonna be higher.
Okay.
Do you participate in the survey?
No, I don't. This is federal government. This is nothing I can control or I'm involved with, so.
We gotta get the numbers from somebody though.
Correct.
Would that be private sector or public sector or both?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yep.
Is that kind of what you're asking?
No, I was
Or-
just, a little bit of experience I've had in these
Yeah.
surveys is, you know, some people participate in the actual survey and so you know your numbers are in there and that's where I was going.
Gotcha.
So Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can pull up their website. They've got nationwide by job code. I can give you my job code so you can look at that and you can compare those numbers. And there's a lot more detail if you dig into those. So I guess, you know, I think we should probably be somewhere in the 128 range is where I feel comfortable. It's not quite what surrounding county is at, but they're a little bit bigger than we are too. But I think we've fallen behind, so that's what I'd like to be at, is the 128 mark. As far as the percentage goes, a little bit over 6%, a little bit less than 7% is what that would come out to be, so.
Could you flip back to your other page real quick?
Yep.
I was just
Absolutely,
writing that down.
and I can send you this if you'd like.
So for discussion purposes here, and where we've been over the last couple budget workshops as a board, is that, yeah, definitely appreciate the numbers where you'd like to be. For our budgeting purposes at the moment, we're going to stick consistently with that 4%, and see where we're at, you know, it's good to know what you desire, but,
I wanna be market relevant,
Yep,
so if the
and I
county's falling
understand that.
behind the market, that's a problem for the county and me as well, so.
sure.
I don't ever ask for more than what the market is bearing, but we need to be aware of that, so.
Yeah, and you know, there's no doubt that, I'm not saying that wages shouldn't be more, that's never the discussion, but problem being, we just don't know where we're at. Last year was a lot of questions, and we don't wanna put something in that, we have to take away. So that's why we're trying to stay at something that we think maybe we can maintain, but don't know until we get everything in. That's
Fair
my
enough,
thoughts.
yep, I understand that
And
completely.
part of that is big picture, if we get to the end of the first round of budget workshop, so to speak, and we see what our totals are, we wanna be comparing everybody evenly across the board so that we know where we're at in general, but we also know that one's not at 9 and the other's at 3 and whatever, it's keeping everybody consistent so we know where we're at and then evaluate from that.
And I would argue that we need to be looking at market conditions and not what everyone else is getting. Just because you're doing 4% across the board, the market might bear a different number than a 4% increase. So I just want you guys to know that, to me, it feels like we're behind and the market conditions have increased in my line of work, so.
That's
I
good,
just
it's
asked you-
definitely good
I just
information.
ask you to be aware of that.
It's
Yeah.
definitely
Yep.
good information, we just have to worry about our fund balances, you know.
One other point.
Yeah.
And don't read anything into this, don't read a tone into it, this is just a question.
Yeah.
So you're looking at salary,
Yes,
and you're looking at private and public,
yes,
and so this goes without saying, there's no benefit measure, there's no measure of benefits there.
there is not, but if we, like I said, if you look at Fairmont, which is only, 8 miles farther from my house, is 10,000 more than I'm at now, that's a pretty big jump. So it feels like similar sized county, similar sized workload, we're just a little bit behind, so.
And you,
Yeah.
again, maybe I didn't articulate the question correctly, but you're talking about working for the county?
Yes, correct,
And
IT
so
director
you
for
assume their
Mark.
benefits are very similar?
I would assume so.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure, but, and again, we're not that far off, but we are a little bit off, so.
So, yeah,
Go ahead.
okay, right, I heard that.
And without having somebody do a deep dive into actual benefits.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, that's where we're at with the wage discussion, if you wanna continue down in your budget here, any changes you wanna highlight and things you need to
Yep, we can go
discuss
through that,
prior to,
I think we're done with that. So the biggest change, is going to be, on the second page, the solutions line item, so 4355221.
Yep.
I increased that by $14,000. That's being pretty conservative, and that's with the Renew Gov increase.
Yep.
We're probably gonna have a Solution/Harris increase. We're probably gonna have a Solutions/Harris increase, we don't know how much yet. They've been kind of all over the board on that, so that will, we could be negative in that item, I put a little extra in there, but, we don't know that for sure. And the rest are pretty close to the same. We had a couple small reductions. I did notice, Tammy, that on my health insurance line item, we need to move that to 75,000 because we do have 3 family plans.
Okay. Can I ask the names of the people who now work in the IT?
Yes, Scott and Christina,
Scott and Christina,
correct, yes.
what are their wages like right now?
59,
Both of them are
yes,
the
both of
same?
them, correct, yes. And that line item did come down a little bit this coming year. We did have some overlap with Scott and Don, not quite as much as we had initially planned, but we did have some overlap for training there, so thank you guys for doing that. Him coming in blind would have been a challenge for him and me as well, so
Mhm.
I do appreciate that very much.
anything else for Derek? Any questions on different,
The equipment stuff, you talked about sand,
Yes.
major piece of technology previously. I know you said we got some room in this current year's budget for equipment and hardware, and I'm assuming I'm looking at the same line you're talking about here, but, can you lay out your plans a little bit more for that, like, are you?
So
hoping to
we'll
replace
split that over
both of them?
fiscal years, we'll do one this fiscal year, one next fiscal year, we won't be able to do them both this budget year.
Okay.
We're waiting on a secondary quote, an alternate on that, so even if that comes in less, I still don't think we're gonna be able to do both of them this year, so there'll be one in June, one in July, is kind of what we're thinking, so.
And then that would encompass the computer
Yes,
replacements
yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yep, correct. Yeah, and that's why that line item is down so much right now, today.
Yeah.
But that will be back online.
Okay. Anything else for Derek?
Anything else you have for us?
I don't think so, unless you got anything.
So somewhere in there, let me know if I'm asking the wrong thing, well, because of the closed session thing, but the city was asking for a change because of the ambulance calls.
Correct.
So whatever money the city was, and you said the ambulance came out of a different,
It's a different levy.
That's the EMS.
Ambulance is out of a different
so
fund,
they would
yes.
pick up that levy would pick up the slack then?
60,000, yes. The city has asked the ambulance service to pay their portion, which is 13% of that, and that is 59,500.
And that portion would come out of the EMS levy then.
Correct.
There are a couple components to that, Derek did touch on them. He did say the 2080, and that is a code section, Iowa code 2080.
Yeah.
And basically it's intergovernmental contracts. Like you and I could have a contract in the private life and it would just be a document that's contract. This is a code section that we can work with other entities. The last 2080, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was from 2010 or 2015?
It was
the last
old,
one
yeah, it
in
was
effect? So-
very old.
It is, currently we are operating with no legal agreement and have been for
With the
quite a
city?
while with the city.
Yeah, for dispatch center,
Yep,
just for the dispatch.
so, and yeah, they've asked, changing those percentages of who pays what and stuff. We've had those conversations with, the city as well about what, percentages each break down to with the actual calls, and that's basically what they were asking for originally too, so. Correlates with the budget, obviously, because of the dollars associated, but it's a bigger conversation about the actual structure of the agreement, so. Not sure if that will be
We're gonna be
substantial
moving
changes.
forward on it, it might take some time, but there'll be some movement on that.
Yep, just wanted to try and.
And when we talk about cities, when we talk about the city of Algona,
Correct.
and no other city participates in any way, shape, or form, or just through,
Correct, there aren't any other cities with their own police department except Bancroft, and that is one individual. So the rest of the county does not have, you don't have a
so
city
that,
officer in Sway City.
so that's when
or
the city
Plano.
contracts with the sheriff's department for coverage?
Correct,
Yep.
yep,
So then there's some revenue there.
they're currently.
So
at-
our discussion is on what's called a PSAP, or Public Safety Answering Point, or Dispatch Center as it's commonly referred to. There are 111 of those in Iowa. The majority are run by county sheriffs or the state patrol. We are one of the few that have a split PSAP or dispatch center. A lot of the counties pay directly for 100% of that cost. A long time ago, the city and the county went together to split that cost, and so that's kind of where we're at now. And so I think we wanna continue that, we wanna have the city input on that and part of our solution. And so we're just trying to balance those numbers, so that is just for call taking and call handling of
Emergency.
emergency law enforcement services. Yeah. Okay, good.
Very good. Yep, thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Okay, well, it is afternoon.
Time for lunch.
Break for lunch and we'll come back for secondary roads at 1:15. That sounds good to everyone?